It is being recorded. So, welcome everybody to this Green Valley Metaphysical Group Zoom. And today's topic is our Earth changes through climatic changes, through humanity society shifts, and everything that's going on now. So it's kind of a big topic, especially, well, starting in 2020, that things started really shifting, and because of the crisis of going around the world with the shutdown, which was an opportunity for us to go within and start, I think, the reboot for humanity if they choose to use this opportunity. And then all of these earth changes are being compounded at the same time. You know, the fires, the volcanoes, the droughts, the water being inundated, and the storms and everything. So it's interesting how the earth is really getting a challenge put in front of it. And it's interesting also that, with the challenge is the greatest opportunity that we have. And it was, what was it, about a week ago that Pat and Wanda and me, we asked about this. It wasn't about a week, something like that. And I know we asked Gaia for some input, like, why? What's going on with all this? And I'll just say mine, and then you two can share yours. That basically Gaia said that all these changes are a reflection of humanity's consciousness, and that humanity, maybe subconsciously or consciously, is the creator of this. It is humanity that is polluting the environment, and that's been scientifically proven. Recently with the big climate change scientists reports saying, yes, this is a man-made occurrence. And so, Gaia said, well, the volcanoes and all these storms are just reflecting this consciousness. And then when I asked, well, would Gaia like? And it was that to basically a couple things. One, for the consciousness of the planet to raise up in vibration, which it slowly is, and I'll get into that a little later. And it said that it would like for the current humanity to start being awake and living sustainably, sort of like the inner earth people, like the Talos, that are the ancient Lemurians that in under Mount Shasta. And, and also many galactic societies and worlds that they've gotten their act together, and they have raised their vibration, and they work in oneness with their environment. Because basically it's simple as, if you kill off your environment or your home, guess what? Body dies, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's like that simple understanding. It's a lot of the planet, the Earth planet, just does not get it. And it's to me, it seems like a no-brainer, but the people who are still in the short-term economic game, or power, or domination, or as much riches and material things, and doing it through whatever means they can, through lying, through cheating, through hurting others, it's like that has to stop. And it's going to take a huge change of society's consciousness to have this happen. And that's what Gaia really was saying, that that's what they need. And the galactics that we worked with, they basically said that they are here to help, but they will not do it for us. That this is our job, this is our evolution, and we got to wake ourselves up. And what's nice is, the metaphysical group and many small groups around the planet are awakening and doing the same thing in their own little sectors of where they live, that these little pockets of awakening are happening, and it is growing. So, there is positive hope at the end of the rainbow. So with that saying what Gaia told me, Pat Wanda, would you like to share?
Sure. When I was doing a session, I got that we haven't seen the end of all of this. It's going to increase, and there's probably going to be another variant, even more virulent than the Delta. And I asked Spirit, I said, "Oh, are we culling the herd?" I asked that, are we culling the herd? Because I've heard that term so many times, and there was silence, dead silence. I asked again. It's like a very firm voice said, "No, we're just giving humanity a second chance to awaken." And I don't know how many more chances they're going to give us, but they're giving us another chance to awaken and okay, go away with the greed and the arrogance and the materialism and the dominance and all of that, and start working with one another, because we are all one. And they said some people will take longer to learn this than others. And I said, okay, how about we hit them over the head, knock some sense into them. And there, I heard a few laughs on that one, but Sirius said, no, you cannot do that. Just send love and understanding to their higher consciousness. So I've been doing that.
Well, one thing that I had got in on my own to connect with this, and Gaia showed me Earth again as an organism. Just like a human being is one organism, the Earth is an organism. And it showed these different spots around the Earth that were being harmed and hurt, and how they're like trying to correct. It's like the organism is trying to correct that as much as it can, but it's being wounded. And a lot of the upheavals, etc., are the reactions to that, like the extra floods, the extra heat, all that sort of stuff. Everything is being imbalanced as an Earth organism. So it's going to take time to correct that, but we have to try to work with it. So that was all I had gotten, was the visual and the being told inside that, So we have to consider that all these things are like it. We have to look at Earth differently as an organism, one being. Just like if we have a broken leg, it's going to affect the rest of the body. That kind of analogy. And it has to be compensated for. And so that's all I got. I don't know what everyone else did.
Does Maria or Sandra wish to add to this?
Not me.
Okay.
I don't have any input.
I've just been watching some of those reports they're making lately on climate change. I think there was a pretty big one that just came out. And something that I've been hearing about, it's called the Atlantic Meridional Oscillation Current, or sometimes it's called the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. Anyway, that's the current in the Atlantic that brings warm water up along Europe. And then when it gets into Greenland, it sinks, gets cold. In other words, it's become very unstable. And if that current stops, there's really going to be some huge issues, including raising sea levels along the East Coast. And I hadn't quite realized that on one of the shows I was watching, they flashed so quickly, but all these ocean currents are interconnected. They just wind around and under and around all these continents and everything. So that is like a huge complex watch for all these pieces to work together. But I just found that scientifically, they're saying, wait a minute, there's a problem.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, and interesting, this information or understanding that the possibility decades ago that you know, humans are causing the CO2 rise and part of the problem, that and how to correct it, and a lot of this was out there because back in the 90s, late 90s, when I was in grad school to be a water remediation scientist, you know, this information was out there. It was about, you know, holistic ecosystems, sustainability, and then later permaculture came along, how we can use it in agriculture to grow crops sustainably. So this information has been out there for a long time. It's just that basically, I think humanity just ignored it, especially the people who are for the short term economic or power brokers, that they don't care. They just want to get what they can get now, and they don't care about the future for anybody. And it's like, it's time that all of society has to really shift out of that, how'd you say, old, like a Neanderthal thinking of, you know, just for yourself, into the higher consciousness, because that higher consciousness is what all the galactics and the angels, you know, that's the way they think, you know, it's like a wholeness way of being rather than a singularity. Hello, Joni.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No problem, no problem. And we were just saying how the Earth's going all the pot.
It's going to what?
All the pot.
Okay. Seems
No,
that way.
yeah, yeah. You know, but you know, this information's been out there, and you know, it's maybe fortunate in a way that it does take extremes or emergencies for changes to happen. Because you notice in emergencies, like in hurricanes or fires or whatever, then that's when people help their neighbors, and you see all this community, you know, compassion and sharing come out. It's like, well, wait a minute, people, why don't you do this all the time? Or, you know, I've talked to someone who's sort of believes like me. It's like, I noticed around Christmas time, you know, it's like, oh, you know, everybody's happy and saying hello. It's like, I was like, why don't you do that 365 days a year instead of one holiday? Or religious people, why just do it on Sunday? Why don't you do it the rest of the days of the week and don't backslide on those other days? It's like, it's a whole new paradigm shift, but humanity can get it because we do it in emergencies. And if we can just think about, let's do this all the time, then it will shift one by one. And another part is resilience. You remember during the lockdown when, you know, nobody was driving, the planes were flying, the resilience of Mother Earth. Remember, like in Venice, that the water got clear again, and fish, and maybe not dolphins, maybe, but fish were coming back into the waters of Venice. The air over China and LA was clearing up, and the smog was going away. So it was amazing in that short amount of time that, you know, Gaia was able to start to come back. So it can be done. So I'm just saying, now we're going into the positive things, that, you know, Gaia is resilient. And also we have the assistance of the galactics here to basically help us raise our consciousness, which is a major factor in people shifting more into the universal consciousness of the compassion, the love, the understanding for all that is, you know, not just for the individual self, but more on a universal level. And it boils down to that this is also the divine timing for this. I know that the work that we've been doing, these other beings are saying this is all in divine timing. You've probably heard this, that, you know, the COVID thing was like the jump start. It takes a like an emergency to get us into, whoa, we better shift out of the old paradigm because the old paradigm's not working, so that we can start creating a new paradigm. I mean, you guys already know this stuff, but it's like this awareness is becoming more popular. If you notice on YouTube, there's so many like small groups like this, or a lot of the metaphysical, more of the well-known ones, they're talking the same thing. So it's not new information. It's like we all know it, especially in our subconscious mind, or our inner higher self knows this. But it's more and more people are starting to get it. Any comments about what I've just said on that, or what do they feel about the more positive aspects?
Well, I think one of the things that we also have to consider is that historically, when the earth was more in balance in a way, or in tune with what was happening with the natural changes that earth has, people live very close to nature. They're very much in tune with that. We're, however, at a point in our civilization, people aren't going to go back to that. I don't think we should. I think the thing in the future of being able to work with this more balance and stuff is to really support the technology that's really helpful to, to progress us as humanity past the survivalists. It used to be villages took care of their own to some degree, historically, sort of like societies and were more families, etc. They took care of each other to a great extent. We now have huge buckets of extreme poverty in our country and around the world, where people aren't being taken care of, like you were saying, Deb, about this. But at the same time, we have to use technology because we're shifting to another whole paradigm of how to be with nature and how to be with the planet and how to be with each other in a different way. We're global now, communication. So it's like really interesting to see how that's going to go without losing what we are all gaining on one level, because we as civilization, as humanity, is shifting in another way. Just like with when we do connect with the other alien groups, they're very technologically advanced as well. So they've done ways to deal with their poverty or their people but not losing that connection with whatever their planet was. So it's an interesting future that we'll have to look at. It's not simple. Does anyone look at that either?
I remember back in the 80s listening to Barbara Marx Hubbard, and she was saying that the shift of consciousness won't happen until the nervous system of the planet is connected.
Mhm.
And now with technology, the nervous system of the planet has been connected. I mean, every country has a cell phone. We're all on the internet. So,
Yeah.
whether we can use that for good and for enlightenment is one thing, but we're certainly connected now. If something happens around the world, everybody knows about it.
Mhm. Yes, it's very interesting.
So now that is a possibility with technology that we can create out of this chaos.
Yep. And it's a whole new paradigm of thinking.
Mhm.
It's a huge shift in the human consciousness of how, from family tribal to the whole earth being one tribe. Very different. We can't even do it in our own country.
And there are cycles that the planet goes through, with the Indian culture. We just finished with the Kali Yuga.
Yes,
So we're starting in a new yoga. So we have possibilities.
right. And that's
If
a
we
big,
just get our act together.
there's always chaos when there's a transition from one age to the next. And it's so interesting to see what that's going to look like. Because if you look at some of the things, even in Indian mythology, this is East Indian mythology, they had flying ships, they had all sorts of things way back in the earlier ages. They had a technological advancement. Atlantis, all that. So interesting where it's going to go.
It's like the Hopi Prophecy, on the Hopi Reservation, Prophecy Rock. you know, where it shows the petroglyphs of humanity. You know, we've came, 4 worlds have been tried and didn't work, so they were extinguished, and now we're going into the 5th, and Prophecy Rock is saying this is it. You know, if you choose the greed, the materialism, the self-centeredness, the line on that, it just ends. There's no existence past that. And the only sustainable one is the picking one of the higher spirituality and oneness consciousness, and then that goes on. And it's so neat that that line of that one goes clear to the edge of the rock and goes around the rock and just keeps going. So, and it's really neat. People, you can go to that rock. It's not that far off of the road on the Hopi reservation, and actually see it, and, you know, see what they show. And, you know, what you mentioned about technology is true. Like, you know, Tesla, you know, before his time, he was bringing those ideas of, like, he wanted free energy. You know, he was coming from such a highly evolved consciousness that he wanted to share it. And it was the greedy capitalists that were controlling his money, you know, for his research, that said, no, you know, we want our immediate profit. And so we're not going to give it away, humanity, for free. And he tried. Tesla really tried. And, you know, it's interesting that back in the, what was it, 40s and 50s, and even after now, the technology for that free energy is already here. The technology for magnetic craft has already been created. The technology for all this stuff, it's just been hidden, and we're being lied to that, oh, that doesn't exist. You know, I just laugh at when these rockets recently went up with the, you know, the billionaires who don't pay taxes, interesting, you know, that they afford these spaceships, and, oh, the new technology of these, you know, it's old technology, rocket fuel, which is old hat, because the galactics and that magnetic information has already been there. The governments know it, but they're hiding it from the humanity because they can't make a profit. So it's going to take a huge paradigm shift to get that old guard out somehow.
Well, like raising consciousness, like you're saying,
Yeah.
what does that look like? One of the things that has to be looked at in raising to higher consciousness, and if you know people, ourselves and many of us, we're looking at the fact that we have to come from a point of view of desire to help humanity, not because we want money. Right now, the paradigm, especially in our country, most around the world, is you only can have advancements if you are looking for money and profit. And that's what drives everything. But if we can make that consciousness shift in somehow, in some way, to have more opportunities for people, and to start thinking, it's not just about personal money. That's fine, but we have to do it for humanity. And then from that, everyone will benefit financially. Everyone will start to be raised up with, but you know, a lot of people don't believe that's possible in humanity yet, and it isn't quite yet. But there's a lot of us out there who are doing things from a point of view of, we want something, we want to create and innovate for humanity. I don't have to just make billions of dollars, you know? So it's another shift of consciousness on that level, because it's a belief system. People believe they have to do it for profit. And if we don't do it for profit, it's not going to get done. So another shift in how we think.
Any other comments on that or ideas? Another point is that, you know, part of the work that we've been doing with, and especially the group of the Galactic Earth Ascension, is the part of that is helping on one aspect of it, is that the intentions are to create these higher consciousness ascension points of light around the planet, to clear them, to activate them, and most importantly, to connect them. So that is strengthening a consciousness, basically electromagnetic grid around the planet that all humans can be able to tap into and feel, because it's becoming one with the energy field of Gaia. So I guess that's my part, and everybody that's in that group, that we're helping on that level of able to create a resonance where that people energetically, maybe subconsciously, but energetically, are being positively affected globally through just, our little bit of help. And that's what the galactics have said and why they're working on that. Any further comments on that, Wanda or Pat, since you've been into that and know what's happening, the changes we've been doing?
Just that we, the three of us working on that, and the others are thanked constantly for that work that we are doing, sending out that higher consciousness energy to the human race. And it basically really isn't just the human race that's going through ascension. It's all earthly creatures, including the earth, are going through this ascension process. So the animals are getting it, and the trees, the plants, the birds, everything is getting this upper consciousness, not just the humans. So it's kind of important that we stay at it and keep on the path and keep doing it, because it is helping. We don't always think it is or see results, but we are being told constantly that there is results, good results, and to keep at it.
How about you, Pat? I know you've been working with one specific Egyptian deity to do some amazing stuff with clearing places.
Yeah, it seems like kind of my role lately has been more to go to mountains or wherever we're taken. Sometimes it's actually to a temple, but particularly mountains, and activate and open up like the energy and strengthen the energy. And this one deity, Osiris, comes in and takes me places, and we do that. And sometimes, like with Mount Etna, this was funny. Traveled to Mount, suddenly I thought we were going to Vesuvius maybe. This one Thoth, this one Egyptian deity, came and took me to Mount Etna. And it was like all barren and dark, and things weren't growing. And I was going, oh my gosh, what happened here? This poor thing. And so Gaia wanted help on starting to regenerate some of the plant life there eventually, something that needed that sort of thing. And then I found out that the day before Mount Etna had exploded. Had no idea. So it's interesting how we'll sometimes, go to places and try to do this. And in the past, seeing connections between mountains, energy lines between mountains communicating and stuff. That's been cool. That's some of the stuff that we've done.
What is interesting with these intentions of the Galactic Earth Ascension Group is Spirit is doing it in a systematic way of activating and connecting certain things. Because you notice we started like the Southwest, and we then expanded a bit, and then Spirit said, okay, it's time to do it on a more global level, because it's like we don't have time for this itty bitty a city here, whatever. It's like time is of essence. We got to get out there on a global level. So they started saying, connecting all the mountains, the volcanoes, the all the places that they're holding higher consciousness, and to activate them. And then the next step was, because that was connecting the grounding of the earth energies directly with Gaia, and the next week was to connect the pyramids, the sacred temples, these ancient ruins, and that was connecting on a higher spiritual level. And that also, you know, like the Great Pyramid, that's connected to Orion and the higher galactic energies. And so Spirit's taken this going from, you know, the Gaia's level, we're going more galactic now. And when we do that, it's bringing in more of the positive galactic higher energies to help us, because what we do here affects them and they want us to succeed. So this is getting more help coming for the planet because of all these intention and these connections. Have you guys seen on Gaia TV a young guy named what's it, Marcinio Stefano, something like that? It begins with the M. Mario Stefano, huh?
Yeah. Matthias
Yes.
Yes.
Stefano.
Yes, he's awesome.
Yes.
He is
Yes.
awesome. And
Yes.
I've been listening to a lot of his other stuff other than Gaia. And he said he either used to work with it and or he's also doing it now, is his emphasis and importance of connecting all the pyramids. And I heard that, you know, in separate from what Spirit was saying. Oh, okay, now it's time to connect these pyramids. And we started, remember, connecting with the Bosnian pyramids, the Giza pyramids, the Uxmal, Yucatan pyramid, the oval pyramid, you know, well before I, you know, read that Matthias was doing that. So it's like we're tapping into definite, concrete spiritual techniques that work and that have worked. And so, I mean, that just jazzes me up. Go, yeah, you know, we're really doing it. And so it's so nice to get all this information, and especially the feedback. And like, you know, Wanda's saying, and Pat's even noticing that the galactics are happy that we're acknowledging them, we're being receptive, because, you know, in our small way, it's growing, but we're making a difference globally and in a way galactically. You know, we
Yeah.
have to have the patience.
You know, the galactics too that we connect with are in another dimension. They're not physical ETs, okay? That's what you always hear in the news and stuff like that. So, you know, but it's really on a different levels of dimensions. So they're dealing with a lot of really higher, we're dealing with a lot of higher energies, higher frequencies.
Mhm.
And that's what they're trying to help bring down into Earth more, helping us to, we're helping them to bring some of those frequencies down into the Earth level more, into here. So that's a lot of what we've heard. We've all heard this, that that's one of our roles, is to be helping to do that, be conduits for that as well.
I have something to add on to that. There were a group that of galactics that came in, and they actually had to use interpreters, so to speak, because they were so advanced. They had to have in between galactics send me messages because I wasn't high enough vibration to pick it up. So they had to use interpreters, and I'm almost there. I can almost give up the interpreters. So it's like I'm working at that I can actually converse with them without the interpreters. And I thought that was kind of unique. It's like, okay, that sounds so human like, 3D consciousness, needing interpreters.
You know, and that just emphasizes the importance. I always say, raise your vibration, but that's the key. And, you know, they said that all along. And I think people are finally getting it, especially like a lot of the YouTubes and the metaphysical bigwigs out there, you know, they're saying it now. It's like, you know, a lot of us incognito people, we've known that and heard about and been working with it for a long time. And it's like, it's nice that small groups, that they're growing in popularity. There's more of them. And so, you know, the word's getting out, and that raising the vibration is so powerful, And it can be through little things, just doing more meditation, or shamanic journeying, being in nature, which is a great catalyst for going to that peaceful state. I know somebody that he does, what are they called? On a bike, where you go out in nature and just ride on a bike. I don't know what it's called. Special tread bikes, that puts them in an altered state because they go into a zone, or being, one with nature, or people who do arts and crafts, that takes them into that inner self, whatever works for you to help raise the vibration. And that really came through with the shutdown, didn't it? We had a lot of time to find out what would do that. A lot of time to work on that. And so it's like we have that opportunity now to really make those choices. And it's neat that there's more information coming out there that's talking about this. It's getting more prevalent in the consciousness. And the more we do it, even our individual selves, it'll just keep adding up. And I thank everybody that joins these metaphysical group Zooms, and when we do meet in person, that'll be wonderful. And then the Galactic Earth Ascension people that are helping, it's like everybody's making a difference. And don't undersell yourselves, that we're all doing it together. I'll just say we're all in this together. So I just many thanks to all of you for the support, because it is helping. We're shifting. Has anybody followed the astrology and the upcoming shifts on what's coming up?
No.
Well, I've heard that, what is it, Pluto for 2022 to 2024, and a whole bunch of planets are really coming into alignment. That's meaning major Earth shifts, planetary shifts on a large scale. It's not the small scale stuff. It's like, and the 2022 to 2024 is supposed to be major shifting and positive change. It takes getting rid of the old paradigms have got to go away, and with the new positive choices that more awakening conscious people make, then it's shifting into that. And so they said 2024 is looking really positive. I mean, like, brand new stuff. So it's I'll take that, but I say, can we do it now?
I've heard that date. I've heard that too.
Ah,
Yeah, a big shift taking place. And
yeah.
I do have a question, because there's a group that keeps talking about Nibiru, Planet X, Planet 9, whatever. And I mean, they're not backing down. They're saying that it's out there. We're just not being told. And there will be huge earth changes when it gets close enough. Do you think that's legitimate? Is that for real? What do your guides say?
Well, it's interesting. I've had people say before that, a lot of the old predictions, you've probably heard of the I Am America map, where both sides, the East and West Coast, it all gets inundated, and in the 3 days of darkness. I mean, all this stuff the last 20 years or so. And I had someone talk to me about that, and it'd be related to the Nibiru thing. And I go, I think things have shifted. I think that those old timelines have been perhaps altered, so that is not necessarily what's going to happen, because of higher consciousness that has affected it, and it will have shifted it so that old potential of the timeline is more nullified, or will be lessened in the negative effects. So that's my personal feeling. And when what was it, about a month ago, when we tapped into these galactics that were basically these angels, archangels, ascended masters, ETs, were in a huge meeting place, and they go, the words that really struck with me, they said, things are going as planned. And they were so positive, they were so upbeat, And they're going, they would like talking to each other. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this on the earth. What are you doing? I'm doing this. And they were all so happy and elated and, glad to do their jobs. So I think a lot, like say, the old timelines have been mitigated, and that new positive higher consciousness timelines are being created and being shifted into such that the old total devastation will, I don't think, come to fruition. That's my input. Anybody else input on that?
How do you spell this planet thing? Is it planet?
Nibiru,
Right.
was it Nibiru? Nibiru? I
Is
think
that
that's
it?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a group called the Zetas. I mean, they get way far out sometimes.
Oh, like the Zeta Reticuli, another ET group?
Yeah. Well, they've got, they have a newsletter, you get their Zeta archives, and sometimes it's way too far out, even for me. But
Well,
the Nibiru thing, they're very consistent about that.
everybody's got a right to their beliefs, but this is a big point. We have to learn our discernment big time now.
Mhm.
There's a lot of old paradigms. There's a lot of old beliefs, a lot of old timelines. And a lot of people have been in this for decades. They don't want to give up that belief because that's all that's been driving them for decades. And so we really have to use our discernment is, how does this information feel to your inner soul? And really meditate on it, really ask your higher self, your spiritual guides, because a lot of that is no longer valid. But we really have to be discerning of who we listen to, who I would say follow. I don't follow anybody, and I hope we just follow our own highest guidance. And to just use our discernment. That's all I can say.
Is Nibiru a planet or an asteroid?
I think it was a planet, wasn't it, Sandra?
It's a planet, and it's way bigger than the Earth.
Yes.
And they're saying that it's sort of in our orbit at this point.
And
Behind us, they're saying it affects the Earth wobble and all sorts of things. It gets rather technical at times.
Is it kind of like masked or something, they say? Just curious.
Like a what?
Is it masked? Like you can't see it? Is it like hidden somehow?
Actually, sometimes they will have photos that supposedly show it's just barely below the sun. Again, I'm not a photographer, so I can't vouch for that. But they are not. They're pretty firm in their belief, and I think they're thinking maybe near the end of the year or early next year there will be more admission that it's out there. But again, it's one of those things. If you're not a photographer or whatever, I mean, how can you know if that's true? I mean, it comes back to discernment, which I think you're saying. You just have to decide what are you going to believe and what feels right.
Remember about, 20, 25 years ago, I remember starting in metaphysics. There was a lot of people saying X amount of a certain timeline is going to come, the world's going to end, and people were selling their houses. And I remember even Spokane, people were selling all their stuff, putting it on the street corner, saying, come get it because I'm going to be taken up in a beam of light, and the ETs are going to rescue me. It didn't happen. How many times has that happened? So many times since then. These people again, it's discernment. Don't be suckered in to believing the hype or the people who are good at lying and manipulating, and just really go into your own inner being and awaken that divinity in you that is guiding. Trust yourself over others. I mean, I'm just saying that is the ultimate, but then we also go into, the universal consciousness, where in that everybody's on the same level, the same consciousness. So there's no betrayal, there's no lying, and it's all truth. Wouldn't that be so nice to be in a world of all truth?
The planet's not going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
That's the message. God, this is evolving. It's not going to anything happen to the planet. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that stuff is I'll have to look it up and see what they say, but interesting.
Like I say, you use your discernment. That's a really, really big one. And a lot of people now got to do it. Don't be a sheep. And that's just my personal opinion. Don't follow me. don't listen to that.
Thanks for the information, Sandra. That's interesting.
Yeah, like I
You
say,
know-
I think that's sort of the old paradigm and old timeline stuff. And like I say, some people don't like to lose their identity of what they've been prophesying for decades. You know, that's just a fact. Like how many, this is so trippy, how many religions say that they're the only true religion on the whole planet and everybody else is false? Like how many centuries has that gone on?
They all say that.
I know, and that's you just want to laugh at it. Go, you all can't be right if you're all the only one. Or when there's a war and each side goes, my God's gonna beat your side. It's like, wait a minute, there's two gods? I thought we're all created from the same sort. I mean, just think about it. It's laughable in a way,
It
the
is.
lower consciousness of what has been happening. We got to get away from all of that and really get into enlightenment.
I think
It's just,
also-
yeah.
Hmm.
My club's better than your club.
Yeah, you know, and that's again, looking at belief systems that are archaic
Mhm.
belief systems. And that's an interesting thing to explore. What are common belief systems that people do carry that are not true? You know, that really don't hold water in the end or aren't the higher evolved level of thinking. And I think I've noticed that if any group says, predicts something big happening, it never does.
You're right.
It never does. It's like,
Yeah.
was the Seventh-day Adventists, the Jehovah's Witness, or some different groups, oh, the world's going to end on a certain day. And it didn't end. So they put a new timeline when it's going to. And this happens a lot with certain groups. And I think it is interesting to kind of go like, just a minute. I think there's a divine purpose going on here. I mean, higher consciousness thing going on.
Do you know you're talking about consciousness of people in general?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen that movie called The Social Dilemma?
No,
Oh.
Excellent documentary because it's called The Social Dilemma, and it explains how social media uses algorithms to determine what you're fed on social media. In other words, if you have a belief and you start clicking on that, it just feeds you more and more.
Right.
But it's an excellent explanation of how those algorithms are used and manipulated to manipulate people's beliefs.
So
Because we-
they give you more and more information that proves the point that you're interested in.
Right, because that's what you're looking at.
Oh,
So
yeah. It's been out
It's
there.
absolutely excellent. It's called The Social Dilemma. If you can, I think it's on Netflix.
That's
So,
that's how cults get formed.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's always been how cults have formed because they know how to hook someone in and then they manipulate data to support that.
oh
belief
yeah,
that they're presenting. And I think having people more aware of the cult mentality would be really helpful because that's a very, again, low level, not productive mindset of what they're hooking into, usually fear-based on some level.
you know, and the positive thing about this is that we now are in a time of choice. And it's like the higher spiritual beings are really on our side and consciousness is raising. As I'm always saying, not fast enough, but you know, it's raising. And so that is positive of what is happening, and the feedback from these higher evolved beings are, you know, they want us to succeed. And so we also got to take the little steps every day to awaken our inner consciousness, raise our vibration, and stay focused on the positive path of what we want to create and how we want to see the world. You know, setting that intention out there vibrationally every day if possible will really help in staying positive.
Mhm.
With that said, we just have a little bit of time. If you want, I could do a quick guided meditation to let each of us connect with Gaia and just see what you get. Do you want that, or do you want to keep chatting a bit?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who is Gaia?
It's basically, it's what term would be Mother Earth. It's Gaia is more of the spiritual embodiment, the consciousness essence of Mother Earth. And
Oh,
that's Gaia was a term that was coined back in the, what was it, 80s, I think, and they called it Gaia. It's just more of the recognizing the spiritual divine essence of the earth.
I think Gaia was a goddess at one time in ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And so they took it as the earth goddess was what she was.
Ah,
So they took that term to be now, you know,
spiritual side.
representing the earth as
Mhm.
a unit, as one whole organism, one being of consciousness.
And about a year and a half ago, you know, when I was channeling, and I always would say Mother Earth, Spirit came in and said, we'd like you to use the word Gaia from now on. And that's sort of a respecting the divine essence of the earth, of what we call Mother Earth, but putting it into just that term. That's what Spirit asked me personally to do, and that's why I use that a lot. So
Thank you for the explanation.
so do we want to do a quick little meditation, or
Sure.
it's up to that? Okay.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Huh?
I said, sure, that'd be fine.
Okay. All right. So let's just get comfortable. And if you want to close your eyes. And make sure you're muted. Okay. And just focusing within into that quiet, peaceful space within. Connecting with your inner light, your inner consciousness. Perhaps noticing you're slowing your breath, feeling more at peace. And allowing your divine light to fill your whole body, higher vibration of pure white light. And expanding your divine light now outside of your skin perimeter, for you are light and energy. Perhaps expanding it 2 or 3 feet outside your body perimeter. And perhaps noticing the freedom that you feel being outside the physical constraints. Of just being pure light and energy. Now that you've raised your vibration, have the intent to connect with Gaia, the spiritual divine essence of Mother Earth. And if you wish, if you are able to imagine going down into the center of Mother Earth, or imagine being connected to the heart of Mother Earth, Gaia, in the very center. And perhaps You notice in the very center, the heart of Mother Earth, there's a huge crystal cavern of light, of crystals, of white light energy filling that whole space. The essence of Gaia. As Gaia is there to connect with you and to be able to share with you how you can best be one with Gaia in consciousness. Asking Gaia how you can best be of service to this ascension consciousness process that's going on now. And just be open to receive what information, message, or energy you receive from Gaia now as I'm quiet for a couple minutes as you receive. And now as you thank Gaia for what you've received, letting that information or energy fill your soul, your energetic light body, and taking that with you. Thank Gaia for what she has shared with you. And find yourself coming back now, back into your body, back into your consciousness of being in the now, in the body, still holding that feeling of peace that you had connected with, though, holding that vibration. Now being one with your body, perhaps moving your fingers and toes, breathing, being here now, and when you're ready, open your eyes, fully back, fully back. And if you would unmute yourself or allow your video to come on so we can end this Zoom call. Sandra, are you back? Sandra. Okay, good. Got to make sure everybody's back. Thank you, my friends, for participating. And many blessings to you. Have a great rest of your day and take this information or energy you received with Gaia and just meditate on that and take it forward. So many blessings to you. And
Thank
I'm going
you.
to stop the recording. And
you.
until next time.